Alrighty everybody, and welcome to my YouTube video feed, Billy Bedlam 66. Better known on my website as the Birdman, or Phantom Bee if you've been to the phantomchasers.net or .org. Today I think we're going to do the whole FEMA pandemic thing. What most people don't realize, and you won't hear this on any of the websites, including Jones and Rents and Quayle, Steve Quayle, is that FEMA was running a pandemic exercise, and it goes till right around the end of December of this year. And it started back in 2013. And when it started as a tabletop exercise, which basically means they sit around a table. They've got their computers, they're doing webinars where they're talking to each other, all the different experts in the different areas of the country, trying to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and who they want to be involved in the exercise and how they're going to communicate. This exercise you can find on the SIFMA.org website. It's SIFMA.org. And it's under services, and then you will see FEMA Pandemic Exercise Series, and just click on that and that will take you right to it. And it's the Pandemic Accord is the subtitle, 2013-14 Pandemic Influenza Continuity Exercise Strategy. In this, there is a number of groups that are involved in this. In the overview section, they talk about the federal executive boards in New York City and northern New Jersey in partnership with FEMA Region 2, the Department of Health and Human Services Region 2, New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, Securities Industry and Financial Markets Association, which is this website, and the Clearinghouse Association. Okay, and the tabletop exercise like I talked about before, which is they sit around a table with their computers and they communicate with each other, that's been completed according to the website. Excuse me. Now what they're doing is what's called the full-scale exercise of 2014 to increase readiness for a pandemic event among federal executive departments and agencies, U.S. court, state, tribal, local jurisdiction, and private sector continuity. Now in this, they do not talk about Ebola, they talk about pandemic influenza. And they, of course, they go into the 1918 Spanish flu influenza, which killed 30,000 people in New York, 500,000 in the United States, and as many as 50 to 100 million worldwide. And it talked about how it led to widespread social disruption and economic loss. Yeah, I know. I remember my grandpa telling me about that because his mother told him about that when he was a kid, and about what her and her husband went through. They were worried, you know, that people around them were going to die, and they were from New York, so you know they knew how bad it was. They go into, they've got an economic component to this. They bring in economists to work on this, obviously because they think if a pandemic does hit, it's going to, you know, hit the economy pretty badly. Excuse me. Yeah. Now to look at this, we'll look at the phases of the exercise. And in 2013, Stage 1 was Tabletop Pandemic Influenza Exercise 2013, completed over a 4-day period in November 2013. Stage 2, After Action Report, distributed January 2014. And then in 2014, there's Stage 3, Pandemic Influenza Exercise 2014, to include full-scale and tabletop exercise components. Stage 4, After Action Report. Stage 5, Corrective Action Report via New York University Partnership. Then they go into the different locations where they're going to do a lot of this, schedules and locations. They have in September of 2014, they have a Pandemic Accord mid-meeting conference. Training will be held to teach lead controllers how to write agency and firm-specific injects. And then on September 23rd, They have a pandemic webinar for federal and local government planning. And they've got some interesting people here, speakers. Ira Tannenbaum, New York City Office of Emergency Management. Jerry McCarthy, Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Jerry Howler, New York Department of Homeland Security. Jay Silva and Howard Zucker, New York City Department of Health. And then on October 9th, they will do a webinar training part 2, Power Communications and Internet Connectivity in a Pandemic Event. In that one, the speakers will be Wendy Panella and Robert Diasoto from AT&T, Andrew Chen, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Eugene Burkle, National Grid, Lance Filer, MD, Samaritan's Purse, African-based NGO. That's very interesting. We got somebody from Africa involved in the with the NGOs down there. And then there's Nicholas Cagliusu, Senior PhD, MPH, New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, to deal with healthcare infrastructure. Then on October 22nd, they will have an updated event. Of course, that's already passed. And they talk about master scenario events list, webinar for agency and firm lead. And then they will draft key events and timeline for their delivery following that webinar. And then participants will also be responsible for constructing the remaining events. This is all spooky because all of this goes back to the beginning of this pandemic, which started, depending on who you talk to, either in November 2013 or December 2013. And that's when the pandemic started, and that's when this whole exercise started. I don't know, that's a little bit too coincidental. And we remember from September 11th, 911, what happened there. They were doing drills, and the drills went live. Now, if the whole Ebola thing is fake, and there's definitely the evidence out there to suggest that anything that happened in Africa came through vaccines. That's the talk now from people in these countries who have managed to get out on the net saying the only people getting sick are the people getting vaccines. This is not something in the wild. And by the way, any type of disease that's in the wild is called wild type or WT, whereas anything that was made in the laboratory is going to be called clinical. And they have admitted, tongue-in-cheek, that this thing is clinical, not wild type, this Ebola, whatever it is. Because the doctors have come out and said, this is not the Zaire version, so what is this? So, it's just another coincidental thing, but I'm going to go on and show you some more, tell you some more of this stuff. They will have on November 13th a pandemic influenza wave 1 full-scale exercise. Now, this is where they do real world. This is where they're out in the field. They got the cops, the firefighters, the doctors, paramedics, the whole 9 yards, out there in the field. Now, we've seen this with Sandy Hook, and we saw it with the Batman movie theater shooting, where they had people pre-positioned before. Now, of course, Sandy Hook, we know it didn't happen at all because that school had been closed for over 2 years. So there was no way anything happened there. That was a drill. Batman shooting was also likely a drill, and there's websites you can go to look this stuff up. Just put in false flag attack drills, and you'll come up with guys that's all they spend their time doing is that. That's all they do is showing that. So with this wave 1 full scale exercise, and then on November 20th they have a wave 2 full scale exercise. And of course, all this stuff is centered around New York City and New Jersey. Poor New York. These guys can't get a break up there in New York. Every time something goes on, it's always up there. The '93 bombing of the World Trade Towers, that was in New York. September 11, 2001, that was in New York. And every time that they come up with some kind of exercise or drill they want to do, it just seems like they want to do it in New York. Now, they've done them other places, but anytime they mention something big, New York gets dropped into the bucket every time. Okay, now, on December 1st through the 4th, They're going to do a pandemic influenza recovery and reconstitution tabletop exercise and pandemic accord hot wash, to also include feedback on wave 1 and wave 2. The same session will be repeated over 4 consecutive days to accommodate the number of participants. Now, I've got a manual on these drills that they do with these so-called school and shopping mall shootings, and one of the things that I noticed is that they have to accommodate all the people that want to be involved in this drill. So let's say they finish up on Tuesday, but other participants say, well, we haven't even gotten to get involved. Watch the media and see that a new type of pandemic comes up the very next day, and you can bet it's because all the participants haven't been able to go through the drill, so they'll create another problem. Now, they actually say in here, they actually talk about what they're trying to do, their goals and objectives, which should tell you that they're using the Ebola to cover for the influenza drill, or the influenza drill to cover for the Ebola, or both. They're going both directions. And I think they're using Ebola to cover for this drill so people don't know what it is. But let's take a look at their goals and objectives. A, foster partnerships between public and private sector. There's that public-private sector nonsense again that involves these NGOs. And what they're going to do in there, under A, review and analyze continuity communications with stakeholders, partners, agencies, and our customers. Encourage collaboration of best practices and strategies among various organizations. Well, how do you do that in a drill setting? The only way you can really test that is in real world. You know, because if everybody knows all you're doing is a stupid drill, they're all going to sit around and go, yes, we're sick, we're dying, oh, call 911, oh, you know. But if they think it's real, then they are going to start working together to try and do something. And that's what I think is happening is you have a small group of people that know it's real over here, CIA, FBI, whatever, and maybe even not even everybody in those agencies knows it's a real drill. Then over here you have these masses of people, first responders, business people. They don't know this is a drill. They think this is real, so they're all freaking out and running around trying to organize, get things going. That's what the government wants to see. They want to see how we react, whether we're business people or just guys off the street watching this on TV. So now let's go on to B. Test an organization's ability to plan for and react to a pandemic influenza outbreak. Okay? Once again, they could just use a drill to test it, but the only way they're going to find out is to have a real-world operation. And under B, they talk about providing tools and resources for the creation of pandemic influenza plan if not developed. Test alert and a notification for local, state, national levels. Identify and prioritize essential functions. Identify supply chain challenges. Really, the only way they can do that is to do it for real. To try and do it just as a drill, they're going to have people sitting around going, why should we load the truck? I mean, this isn't even real. Well, you know, why are we doing this? I can hear conversations like that going on if people know it's a drill. But if it's real, then it's a whole different story. Then you can get people motivated. Now let's look at C, which I think is the best one. Evaluate and validate continuity of operations planning and processes for a pandemic. Underneath that, social distancing, activation of telework policy, succession plan, pandemic influenza plan review, HR policy regarding absenteeism. What I think they're doing, what they're going to do there is they want to see how all of their continuity of government programs work as it is. Well, if they're going to look at social distancing and HR policy regarding absenteeism, who the hell's going to be absent from work if everybody knows it's a drill? They're not going to go anywhere. But look at the panic they've already created in the American public with this fake Ebola thing. And that's why I think they're using Ebola to test people's emotional responses. Are they going to all stay home from work? How many are going to stay home from work? How many are going to head to the mountains? Yada, yada, yada. And I think that's exactly what they're doing with this. So now let's go on to D. Explore the effects of randomized absenteeism in the workplace. Model based on U.S. Census data will be developed to replicate absenteeism in the workplace. Participants will determine the business services that are impacted and how they will continue operations. Some departments may not be affected while others may have their entire staff unavailable. How are you going to test that unless you make people believe it's real? Once again, if it's fake, people are going to be sent to work going, I'm not going to go clock out and go home and for this crap. I'm not even going to get paid. Screw that. I'm going to stay working. Let somebody else do it. It's exactly what people are going to say. Unless it's real. Unless they can convince you it's real. Then they can really test the absenteeism there. Okay, now let's go down to E. Explore the psychological aspects and business reconstitution of post-wave recovery. Now remember up above, they talked about this post-wave recovery, wave 1 and wave 2. How are they going to do that with these drills if they can't convince you they're real? Underneath this heading, coping with the deaths of multiple co-workers, loved ones, replacing staff, replacing personal protective equipment in preparation for a potential next wave. Create a sense of community with the use of employee assistance programs. Once again, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this with just a drill? I mean, what? People are going to fake their deaths in the workplace? Workplaces don't have time for that crap. They're not going to do that. They got money to make. This economy is too bad for a business to say, yeah, come on in. Oh, yeah, our employees, go ahead and paint blood on them and have them fall down the ground. No business is going to do that. They've got to do this for real. And E is the one that scares me the worst, because that's the one where they may kill people for real. They may release something to see how people react to it. That's my theory on that one. Okay, now we're going to go down to F. Identify special considerations and materials for protecting the health and safety of employees during a pandemic outbreak. Social distancing materials, community interventions, and syndrome surveillance. What are they already doing? Syndrome surveillance. That's what they're already doing. You know, they're already looking at people to see if they're affected, to see how people are reacting to people that they claim are infected with Ebola, and seeing how surveilling people around those people, like the doctors and nurses in Dallas and that kind of thing, to see how people react. You know, or what are they doing? What are they saying? How are they reacting to this? So that's something that's really spooky there. Let's see what else they got. Oh, they talk about the key players again. Let's look at what they talk about in the pandemic event background. Pandemic influenza is a global outbreak of disease that occurs when a new influenza virus appears or emerges in the human population, causing serious illness as it spreads from person to person worldwide. History teaches us the impact of a pandemic can be far-reaching, and then they go into the Spanish flu again. And then they reiterate the indirect effect on physical infrastructure, finances, that kind of thing, from people staying home and things like that. They're saying that economists, epidemiologists, and other experts predict that the effects of a modern-day pandemic will be seen in every industry and government agency at local, regional, national, and international levels. Typically, a pandemic influenza will come in waves, each lasting 6 to 8 weeks, with several months between each wave. That's what they're testing with wave 1 and wave 2. Now you got to ask yourself, are they going to take this thing live? Because we're getting ready to roll over into November when these things go, when these wave 1 and wave 2 come about. Let me see when wave 1 starts again. Yeah, November 13th. That's when wave 1 starts, is on November 13th, and then wave 2 starts on the 20th. Now they got them closer together than what they're talking about down below, but it doesn't matter. It's still, it doesn't sit well with me, and it shouldn't with anybody else either, because they could take this thing live during this whole drill, and they have to a great extent. I mean, if Ebola is fake in America, and I think it is, then they've already taken it live, but it's just not really live. And it's possible that a couple of people do have Ebola, but that, they've got them sequestered somewhere. It's hard to tell. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send emails to these people. I want to see these people that they list here for points of contact, and I want to say, is Ebola real in America? or are you creating a fake Ebola epidemic to cover for your tabletop and full wave exercise? Because I can guarantee you I already have this on my website and on my YouTube videos, and people will be watching to make sure that you people don't take something live. Because people in Africa have already been on the media, and I'm going to tell them, I'm going to say they've already been on the web admitting that the only people down there got sick are people, you know, that got a vaccine. So I'm going to send basically what amounts to a form letter, same one to each one of these people, with a series of questions and a series of accusations. And I want to see what they come up with. I'm going to see if they say, oh, no, Ebola is completely separate from us. It has nothing to do with anything. I'll say, are you sure? Because not everybody's convinced that these so-called Ebola patients in America are even real. Well, that, for instance, that Eric Duncan guy, he looks like an actor. He looks like somebody I've seen on TV or in the movies before. It'd be nice to find out if he really does exist, because anybody can put a picture on a news website and say, this is Joe Smith, he just died of this disease. Well, I don't know anybody in Dallas. I know people in Austin, but I don't know people in Dallas. If I knew people in Dallas, I could call them and say, hey, can you go check and see if this guy's real? I bet you they're going to come back and they're going to tell you, no, there's no black guy by the name of, you know, Eric Thomas Duncan that died in Dallas. They're full of crap. I guarantee if I had that kind of contacts down there, they'd probably find just that. So anyways, to really wrap this up, I'm going to get this wrapped up because I want to send these emails out. These things are extremely dangerous because we know in the past that they have done this before, where they have gone in and they have created this, like with 911. And then what happens is, oh, it's real, you know, and it went, and of course it went real on 911, but it didn't start out as real, and especially according to them. So this is, you know, this is something that, you know, that I'm going to watch, and we're going to see how it goes through November. You know, people are kind of real skittish right now. They're not sure what's going on with this influenza or the Ebola. You know, a lot of people are saying, well, what if it's real and we accuse them of something and it turns out to not be real? And I'm like, well, first of all, even if it becomes real, it probably didn't start out as real. And there is a lot of talk on the internet that, and I've got to go look it up, but it's got a weird number behind it. And they're saying that the U.S. government has a patent on Ebola, but the number starts with a CA, and patent numbers don't start with that. So I don't know where exactly they supposedly found this patent information. So, but if you want to look at this yourself, and they do have some webinars. I have not been able to log into them yet, but supposedly they've got webinars on here where you can go in and play their webinars and to see how they did and everything. But I can't get them to start up, so I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on there. But you can give it a try, and you can go to www.sifma.org/services, and right underneath services, it's like the second or third one down, click on FEMA Pandemic Exercise Series. And they have webinars, but like I said, I haven't been able to get into them yet. They're the Adobe Connect or the Adobe Air or whatever they are. I can't get into them for some reason. But, you know, go ahead and give it a try yourself. See if you can log in, and then maybe you can hear what they're saying, you know, and go from there. It should be interesting to find out what they've got to say in these webinars, because I sure haven't been able to get in. But anyways, that is all there is for now. That's all I've got. I've updated my website to include an article on this supposed Ebola epidemic and the possibility of it being connected to this exercise, and you'll see the link on the front page, and the website is www.thephantomchasers.org, and go in there and just look around and read that whole article, and leave your comments. You can send an email. There's a link right there on my website, and just send a comment, and you know, and tell me what you think. You know, if there's something that you know about that I can add to the article, great. Go ahead and send it to me, and I'll add it. So, But anyways, that's all there is for right now, so I will see you later. This is Billy Bedlam 66 signing off. Bye.